We're not going to impeach the guy. Could we get our money back?
David Letterman stating what millions of Americans believe, that these are dark times in the USA. But is that true?
Hit the home plate umpire.
And Is It Legal looks at a passive assault on a baseball umpire, Bill Clinton versus Vanity Fair, and a Florida swingers club in big trouble.
Caution. You are about to enter the no-spin zone. The factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thank you for watching us tonight. War clouds over Iran. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. A recent UN report says that Iran is going full speed ahead with its nuke program, and its military is now involved. That prompted Israel to threaten Iran with military action, something that would light up the Middle East with violent flames. Any armed conflict involving Iran would send oil prices through the roof, and Americans might be staring at $6 for a gallon of gasoline. Now today, the New York Times editorialized that any military action against Iran would be a, quote, disaster. And that is true. Millions in the Muslim world would rush to Iran's defense, and Islamic-driven violence across the world would skyrocket with terrorists like Hezbollah leading the way. The Times wants to bribe Iran to stop their nuke program. I believe that will not work. It's clear that the hateful mullahs believe they can hurt America and the West by creating havoc with oil. And that's how they think they can defeat us. Now, Russia and China have been protecting Iran from severe economic sanctions, and who knows if that'll continue. If the world would unite against Iran and refuse to trade with it, the country would fall, but the world will not. In fact, 2 American companies actually continue to do business with the mullahs. Goodyear sells Iran about $300,000 worth of tractor tires a year, and it should stop immediately. But by far, the worst American company in this arena is General Electric, as we've mentioned. This man, CEO, GE CEO, Jeffrey Immelt, does about $50 million worth of business with Iran each year, even though Immelt knows Iran is killing U.S. soldiers and Marines in Iraq and wants to wipe Israel off the map. Immelt is helping a vicious enemy, and there is no excuse for his disgraceful anti-American behavior. Ironically, the General Electric company is in big trouble economically. When Immelt took over from Jack Welch, GE stock price was about $44 a share. Today it closed at just above $30 a share. How Immelt keeps his job is one of the great corporate mysteries of our time. Now, while Iran continues to threaten world peace, Congress has been asleep, doing little to get America off oil. Finally, in the face of grave danger, there is some movement. Florida Congresswoman Ginny Brown-Waite has introduced a bill that would remove the tariff on imported ethanol. But Senate Democrats have been blocked by Republicans from imposing a windfall profits tax on American oil companies. Talking Points expects the Republicans to come up with a tough plan to protect Americans from predatory energy pricing. If the GOP does not do that, it will surely lose everything in November. Fair warning. Look, as we said last night, oil is over. This country can no longer depend on OPEC for our national security and economic well-being. We have the technology to limit our oil use. Congress must mandate by law that it be done. And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight. With Americans getting hammered by gas prices and a shaky economy, some believe the nation is in dire trouble.
Even I am perceiving now that things are horrible in ways they shouldn't be horrible. Now, we're not going to impeach the guy. Could we get our money back?
I come here today with a request for the class of '08. We need you to fix the country.
Fix the country. The question is, are things as bad as those men say they are? With us now, John Avlon, the author of the book Independent Nation, How Centrists Can Change American Politics. And from Washington, Jane Fleming Kleb, Executive Director of Youth Voter PAC, which helps the Democratic Party. Fix the country. I don't think the country needs to be fixed, Jane. I don't think Brian Williams knows what he's talking about. I think we have very big problems, and particularly this oil thing, very disturbing. But fundamentally, I think America is by far the most prosperous nation on earth, and I'll point to the fact that 15 million illegal aliens want to break in here and we got to put up a wall to stop people from coming here. What say you?
Well, I totally agree with you on the energy. There's no denying that we've got to both combat the consumer as well as make sure that we're having alternative fuels so we're not relying on foreign oil. That we all agree with. But we do need big changes. And that's not saying that America is in dire straits. But when I, a mom of two, go to the grocery store every 3 days, I used to spend $60 on groceries. Now I'm spending $100. I'm spending almost $70.
You got to go to Costco, Jane.
Well, I
you
go
got to go
Walmart.
to Costco. Look, I've tracked this because I'm feeling exactly the way David Letterman is feeling, that there's stuff wrong. So I made some calls. Yeah, and if you go to the premium departments, the grocery stores, but the discount stores like Walmart and Costco and these stores, you can still pretty much get what you could get. But you've got to be a very aggressive shopper.
Bill, I go to Walmart. I live in a small town. There's one grocery store in Walmart. So I go to Walmart. I'm not buying anything extravagant. I have 2 little girls. I'm feeding myself and my husband. We're spending $100 every 3 days. Not to mention gas. Gas is now $4 a gallon. Now, these are the kind of the practical everyday things. But there are bigger problems, like our trade deficit with China. It has increased, like the Pentagon losing $8 billion. We have big problems in our government. We need big changes, not little changes, big changes.
What do you think, John?
Look, of course we face challenges as a nation. That's nothing new. But there's nothing less American than the idea of inevitable decline. Look, we're a tough country. We're a strong country. We're a country that went through the Civil War. We went through the Great Depression, World War II. This generation went through 9/11. We are strong, and we can meet any challenge. We need to confront it directly, can't get in denial mode about things, but we need to confront our problems with optimism and a sense of determination, not this kind of liberal hand-wringing you see too often.
But let's, come on. When people are really feeling it, and they are with the oil prices, and they look at our politicians, the Bush administration, the Clinton administration before that, and then you go back to Bush the Elder and Ronald Reagan and Carter, they did absolutely nothing to get us off oil. Nothing. And so people have a right to be teed off. Letterman has a right to be teed off. I don't think he's correct in his view of the country.
Right.
But I understand why they're teed off.
Look, for 30 years, politicians have been talking about energy independence, and we haven't gotten anywhere. And you're right, the American people have a right to expect more from the next president and to step up and demand changes. But again, we've got to solve our problems from optimism, determination, not pessimism and worrying whether or not we're up to the challenge.
How did things get so out of control? Why is President Bush's approval rating at 30%? Can you put your finger on one thing? How did it get so dire in a year?
I think it's more than a year. I think the groundwork's been laid for a while. I think they made a political decision early on. He campaigned as a centrist. He governed as a conservative. He unified his party at the expense of uniting the nation, and therefore hasn't had the goodwill to draw upon it. And the moderate majority of Americans and independents turned on him way before this last year.
It looks like a perfect storm, Jane, to me. You've got oil prices just coming out of nowhere, driven up by greedy speculators, and and you've got politicians who, on both sides of the aisle, I'm sure you would admit that, did not do their job, did not look out for us. Everybody knew that this could happen at any time, and now it's hitting Bush in the middle of the head. Do I feel sorry for him? A little bit. I don't think David Letterman and Williams, take into account we haven't been attacked since 9/11. I think that's an extraordinary achievement. I think that's his best achievement. You'll never hear that from the left. You'll never hear that from the Democratic Party. But why do you think it all went bad so quickly?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One, there is a tremendous healthcare crisis facing our nation. We still have 47 million uninsured. That continues to go up every year. And so I'm not saying that America is in dire straits and we don't have the optimism or the technology or the smarts to fix it, but we do need people in Congress and in the White House. We need some changes.
Yeah, but the Democrats have controlled the House and the Senate now for 2 years, and they've done bupkis. They haven't done anything. Their approval rating is lower than Bush's. So I don't have confidence in any of these people, Jane.
But on the alternative energy, the Democratic Congress did pass some better fuel efficiency rates as well as more investments in alternative energy. Bush, however, vetoed the Farm Bill, which had a lot of money in there for alternative energy. It took the Democratic Congress to override that veto.
I mean, I think if the Republicans are viewed as obstructionists in this oil thing, that they're going to lose everything, and it's going to be...
And they blocked the bill. They blocked the bill again for the second time today.
I pointed that out, Jane.
And this is not a time for politics as usual. This is a time to get big as a country, to address big problems, and I think what's good is both candidates running for president are both candidates that represent change. They're both reform candidates.
That's what they say.
No, but you know what?
That's what they say.
Well, of course, because they read the American people correctly. But I think there's credibility behind it. They're both independent. They're both kind of mavericks in their party, and this is not a time for politics as usual.
We'll see. John, Jane, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Next on the rundown, the Obama advantage. It's the media. Will it put the senator in the White House? And later, a baby brutally slapped. It's posted on the internet. Can authorities do anything? Upcoming.
This program is brought to you by the all-new 2008 Land Rover LR2.
Sure, a lot's changed over the years, but you two do have a groovy thing going on. Don't let erectile dysfunction get in the way. Viagra can help you enjoy a more satisfying sexual experience. America's most prescribed ED treatment is marking its 10th anniversary. Want to learn more? The facts are there to greet you at Viagra.com. Ask your doctor if your heart is healthy enough for sex. Don't take Viagra if you take nitrates for chest pain, as it may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Side effects may include headache, flushing, upset stomach, and abnormal vision. To avoid long-term injury, seek immediate medical help for an erection lasting more than 4 hours. Stop taking Viagra and call your doctor right away if you experience a sudden decrease in vision or hearing. Ask your doctor if Viagra is right for you.